You know what? A game that you always come back to? Like, you always say you're going to quit, right? But then you just keep coming back to it eventually. That's World of Warcraft.
We're talking
for
about
me.
video games? Or
Yeah.
are we talking about something?
No, we're not.
Okay,
we're not talking about anything personal.
Hi, and welcome to the All Chat Podcast. My name is Keefan.
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tanner.
And we're in video now.
Woo!
So we finally decided we'd put a little bit of a picture or video, I guess, to the voices that you've been hearing.
So this is what we look like.
Yeah.
If you
Whether
can
you
even
like
put
it
the
or not.
voices together.
Yeah, so this is our third podcast, our second official podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit confusing. I think we've basically, that's just how we're going to number it, though. This is the second podcast. But going on from there, we're going to start with what we've been playing. Anything new? Yeah, I can talk sometimes. Maybe. We'll start with Tanner and just kind of go down.
Okay, so I'm the wrong person to start with because I was on vacation all last week.
Yeah, but that's
I didn't-
your life. Where'd you go?
I know. Okay. Well, in my life, I went on a cruise out of California, and I played no video games because my wife probably wouldn't like that.
But
if
he
I
did
said-
do the podcast.
I did. I did the podcast from, not here. And
Very informative.
yeah. So, I mean, when I got back yesterday, I did play some Retribution on Overwatch just because, that came out right before I left. I got to play some of it before I left. Came back, just played it some more, and that's everything for me.
Cool. All right, short and sweet. So I have finals coming up, so I didn't actually play as much as I would like, but I did make sure that I played some games. And one of the games that I made sure to play was Fortnite.
You played
did you like
Fortnite
it?
finally?
I played a lot before. I just haven't played a lot
Oh,
recently.
that's right, because you play with Nick, right? And the
Yeah,
other
so I played a little bit, not this Nick, a different Nick.
Oh, gotcha. I was like,
so-
I don't remember this.
So I haven't played in a really long time, so my skill level was terrible.
Stupid.
The first round I played, I died within probably the first 2 minutes of landing. The last time I played,
He just
though,
didn't bring the parachute out.
yeah, I
Just
cut the
fell.
strings. Even though you don't have a parachute in Fortnite,
Yeah.
I let go of the glider. No, but in the last game I played, I did significantly better. Not really because I played well, but because I played smarter. So I hid essentially the entire time. Gunfights would be going on around me. I created myself a little base. I had actually some pretty good guns, and it was pretty exciting. So at the very end, there was 3 of us left in a tiny circle. One person built a huge base. Another person had a tiny base. And then I went into the remnants of a crappy little nothing building that someone made that had a couple walls here and there. And I just created a back wall for myself. But it was so crappy, no one even suspected that I was there. So they were just fighting back and forth while I just sat there and watched them through this like the slats in the wood. And at one point, one of the other people took out a rocket launcher and was just bombarding the other person's base, just destroying it consistently. And they kept fighting. And then they got in like kind of a fight where they actually ran at each other a little bit. So I said, here's my time. I'm going to shine right now. Ran out there, started messing a couple of them up, and then a rocket hit me and killed me. I thought Rocket Guy was dead, I'll be honest. I thought their fight had gone on good enough. And then I just got blown up, complete shield and all health that was full, dead in one hit.
Okay, but before that, your incompetence helped you get further.
Well, I think half of the idea behind Fortnite and PUBG is it's where you're at. And with Fortnite, it's building. And I like building. So that's like the one kind of skill that I have in that game. And got me to 3rd place. I only shot a couple people. I did shotgun one other person before that. But yeah, I didn't really do anything significantly impressive the entire game. And I still made the 3rd place.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good old
Atta
Fortnite. I do. So when finals end, I'm going to be playing a lot more games again. And hopefully actually getting better in games. And then I played some League. And just a couple little games here and there. But for the majority, I just didn't really play anything specific, and nothing that exciting happened in any of the other games. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, I actually haven't played Fortnite in a while. You could say I haven't played it in a fortnight.
Oh, that joke's never been told.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I thought you'd have something to say, but just nothing.
I thought I'd spice up, the first time I'm actually talking tonight, but I'm okay. Guess it wasn't mutually received very well. Anyways,
Let's just go to Ryan.
Oh, okay, I see how it is.
Sorry, Nick.
Well, no. So this week, I played a lot of Heroes of the Storm, but I actually today, I think it was. Yeah, it was today. I resubscribed to my World of Warcraft account. I know these guys don't really like World of Warcraft that much, but
I played it once and I hated it.
I hated it too.
it's not for
I'm sorry.
everybody. But Ryan and I like playing it.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just got, a game that you always come back to. Like, you always say you're going to quit, right? But then you just keep coming back to it eventually. That's World of
We're
Warcraft
talking
for
about
me.
video games? Or
Yeah.
are we talking about something? Oh,
No, we're not.
Okay,
We're not
I'm
talking
making
about
sure.
anything personal.
A different habit.
Just talking about video games. Just four guys talking about video games. Not anything else. Anyways. But,
Man,
but yeah, World of Warcraft is one of those games for me. I just always end up coming back to it. And I made a Death Knight today. That's one of the classes. And in the starting area, you serve the Lich King, which is like this big bad guy who's in charge of the Scourge, which are the undead. And you go through the starting area, like doing all these things for the Lich King, and you like hurt all these innocent people. And I would just feel horrible going through the starting area because
Yeah.
I like have to kill all the innocent citizens and do what the Lich King wants. But then in the end, you basically betray him and you go pledge your allegiance to the Alliance or the Horde, whichever character you made.
So the ends justify the means there? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
I guess so.
Wait, do you
yeah.
have to betray him?
Yeah, it's just part of the story.
And you have to
Oh.
kill the
Yeah.
civilians?
It'd be
Yeah,
cooler
you
if you
do.
could keep just killing people and enjoying it.
Well,
Well, we
it'd be a
know,
different
okay.
kind of game, I
That-
guess, if it were like that.
That's why you didn't like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't be a Death Knight and still serve the Lich King. And
Did
just
you ever
keep...
play the Panda Posse? What was that expansion?
Knights of Pandaria.
Panda Posse?
Panda
Definitely not
Posse.
it. That's not.
That's not what the name...
It kind of is.
You know, I'm surprised I know what that is, even though I've never played it. But it's
Yeah.
just from World of
It's
Warcraft.
called Mists of Pandaria.
Yeah, Mists of Pandaria, but I'm forever calling it Panda Posse now. That is the
Panda
best
Posse.
name I've ever heard for that expansion.
I guess you could roll with your Panda Posse in the Mist of Pandaria or whatever it was.
Pandaria.
Yeah, whatever.
Panda
Pandora.
Posse.
Avatar. Who knows?
That's where Lily and
Chenner
Or
from.
Chen.
Okay.
Yeah, from Heroes of the Storm. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what they're from. They're the Panda Posse.
all right.
But yeah, so I started playing World of Warcraft again. I'm hoping to level my Death Knight and have some fun and some raids and some PvP. It's going to be a good time, but other than that, that's pretty much all I've played. So
So now that Nick's getting back into World of Warcraft, I have lazily not unsubscribed yet, so I still have my account active. So I'll probably be playing with him a little bit more too. But this week I played mostly Heroes of the Storm. I played some Overwatch, a bit of Rocket League, and I tried to play some Sea of Thieves. But now I have another. I have a complaint about it, but it's mostly just. So what I was playing earlier today, I think I told Nick when it happened. I was playing Sea of Thieves, and I had a decent amount of stash on my ship, and then I accidentally tugged on a cord on the power, and then my Xbox turned off. And so once your Xbox turns off, you lose everything. Like you can't. The game doesn't save your loot or anything. It just.
I mean, that's because it's an online multiplayer.
multiply.
I mean,
Anyways,
have you been
anyway.
thinking of math?
yeah,
Are you still in school?
yeah.
Anyway, so and that's happened to me twice this week where something happened.
Okay, that seems like it's less of a problem with the
Well,
game
no,
and more of a
no.
problem with you.
No. So the first time it wasn't a power issue. It was just, I don't remember what happened the first time. But the point is, like if you have to set aside a certain amount of time to play Sea of Thieves. You can't just
But
play
that's
it for
like,
like.
I guess I just want to kind of argue this point with you a little bit because it's like any multiplayer game that you're gonna do. If you play Heroes of the Storm, you have to, if your power goes out,
Well,
it's
no,
not
but-
gonna save the game, and everyone's gonna be like,
Oh, we'll just
pause
wait. We'll just
where you're
wait.
at. No one
Well,
pushed.
Well, no, but
anything.
if your power turns off and you're able to get the game up fast enough, you come back to the same thing.
Right, you can come back to the same game, but it's not going to be in the
But-
same place it was.
And
in-
also in Sea of Thieves, if you're playing solo, like if you're playing with your team, obviously, and something happens, then your stuff is going to be saved and you can just come back to the same group. But if you're playing by yourself, because none of my friends that have Sea of Thieves have liked it enough to
me,
to keep on
I'll
playing
play
it
it with you.
But either way, like we'll play it later this week, I'm sure. But
Probably not this week because of school, but next week.
Fine. But that was just some of my gripes with Sea of Thieves. But I played mostly Heroes of the Storm, trying to level up characters and make sure I don't fall out of gold.
So going along actually with what you were just saying, so we're actually going to talk about some gaming news, and this was actually not part of our outline that we have, but I'm going to go into it anyway. So Sea of Thieves actually recently came out with their roadmap for the game, and they're going to have an update in May, and then another one they say in summer, whatever that means to them. So they're going to add a new ship type, they're going to add new quests you can do, they're going to add some kind of AI enemy, I think, that might be on the water.
That'd be good.
So they're they're basically gonna throw actual content at the game, because I think they have a great bare bones game, and they're just gonna actually make it so that people want to keep coming back. They're also gonna add, like, I want to say daily and weekly challenges as well, so it'll keep people coming back and having things to do, which I think is great because I love the game, but it's hard to find people who want to play with it because it is so bare bones right now. So I think it's just a really fun game to just mess around with, just as a friend group, but you have to find the right people to be with. So I think with these new updates, it's gonna get a lot better, and it's gonna be more exciting for people.
Yeah.
So stuff that should have been in the game from the start.
Yeah,
basically.
for sure. But they're also really listening to people since the
I
beginning.
hope so.
Well, I mean, but a lot of developers don't do that.
I know.
Like,
We know.
but it's interesting because they were originally, their first DLC was going to be people can have pets, like dogs and cats and parrots.
What?
People want pets.
Yeah.
If you can have a pet in a game, you're happy. Most people, but that isn't going to solve.
But it needs
the greater problem.
content.
So they've actually pushed that back and worked on things that people want right now. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. That really shows that they're listening to what people want, and they actually want to make sure that the game is good for years to come. So yeah, I can see people's complaints. I think it's a fun game. But now we're going to move on to our actual gaming news that people have looked into a little bit more. The first thing is Nintendo Labo. So this is going to be a little bit of a conflicting opinion, I think. A couple of us are going to have different opinions. And I want to say, just so everyone knows, none of us have actually used Nintendo Labo. And actually, only one of us has a Switch. I will be getting one soon. But one of us has a Switch, and none of us has a Labo. So this is just purely what we've seen and what we've read about it, and just our own thoughts about that.
The first thing I want to say about it is Nintendo has a knack for trying to be the most creative, and I applaud them for that. With the Switch, with the Wii U, and the gamepad, other consoles haven't been stretching the boundaries as much as Nintendo. This Labo thing, I have no idea if it's going to be good or fun or boring, but I like and I commend them, trying it out, pushing the boundaries and seeing what can work. And so that's the first thing that I want to say about it.
So when I said we're going to have differing opinions, I mostly meant Nick and I, because we kind of talked about it a little bit.
But
He's
I can think too, apparently.
Right, but you didn't have like a definite opinion.
Yeah, I don't.
I have no opinion.
And
I don't
neither
know
does
what we're talking
Ryan.
about.
But Nick has the opinion that it's,
I'm not a fan.
and I think it's genius.
Yeah. But,
Okay.
well.
Why?
Okay, so who's going to go first on this one? You want me to talk?
Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so I agree with Tanner that it's nice that they're being creative, but the problem I have with Labo is that it's $80 for cardboard.
Well,
you know,
$70 for the
for the
variety
well,
pack,
for the
80
variety.
for the robot.
So what exactly is Labo?
So it's
'Cause I'm sure I'm not the only
so
one who
you
doesn't
use these cardboard pieces to build things with using your Switch. You can use the tablet and the Joy-Cons.
So,
you can build an
yeah.
RC car using the HD Rumble feature of the
know.
Joy-Cons.
Oh no, I did see something.
And then there's
about
a
this.
giant robot one where you build a robot.
But they have, so the interesting part about it is, so the Switch, like Nick mentioned, but it brings up a create,
Mhm.
discover,
and
and
then play
another.
or something,
Yeah,
or learn. I can't remember.
There's 3 options you can do. So you can learn, first of all, how to build it. And this is where I think the genius is it's a lot like Lego.
Mhm.
in a
or,
way.
Things like that. So if you enjoyed that as a child or even now, I think it has a lot of similarities to you being able to see nothing and create something cool. But the cool thing about it is also has these little sensors on them. It has little silver sensors on the cardboard. So when he mentioned you can build the RC car, you can also have the IR on the Joy-Con.
Mm-hmm.
It'll see what's in front of it, and you can have it follow your hand, so it'll move along with you because it can sense where you are. And you can build, so in the variety pack, they have a few different things you can build. There's like a fishing pole, which you can then use with the Switch to make a game, like a fishing game. And you can actually reel in the fish.
Video games.
You what?
I don't like fishing in real life or in video games. I think it's
Yeah, but it's cool because you actually get to build the rod, and it has a string. The string goes down to where the Nintendo Switch screen starts, and then it has the string go into that as well, and you can actually use it like it's a real fishing rod, but in the game, and it senses those movements. You can build like a little house that has different mini games that you can play with it by putting in and taking out different things because it senses what you put in with those sensors. So it has like a lot of cool things you can do, and I think the variety pack has 5 things. What I will agree with Nick on is it is expensive.
Oh yeah,
But
it's
I think
it's cardboard. Like how easy is it gonna break? Like this is kids using it, right? Is it like super? Is it super durable cardboard or?
It's pretty durable. So one of the reviews I watched, the guy was worried about it. So he said that he played it and had fun with it, but he also has 2 kids who had an immensely more great experience. I guess they had a lot more fun with it.
Well, hopefully it's for kids.
He had his fun building the things because some of them are harder. In fact, I think he said the robot took him over 3 hours to build. So they're not all easy. Like there is some complexity in them. Yeah. The interesting thing is there were different build times. I think the RC car is set for like 10 minutes. It can take you to build, so that's going to be great for little kids. So like they each have their different the complexity levels, and then you can also go in to learn how they work. So the kids can learn a little bit more about how the strings and the sensors and all that works. So there's more education as well. But then there also are games that go along with them each. Like the robot one, you control a robot in the Switch, and you can like destroy buildings by like smashing it with your hands. It's a little bit like VR almost.
Discount
but
VR.
without you being in the
very
world.
Discount VR.
I mean, that's like Gear VR though. That's the discount VR.
That is true. Yeah.
So I mean, this is not trying to be that, but it is trying to do something kind of cool. So the expensiveness is, and then the durability. He said that they hadn't had anything break yet. Okay. But it had only been like a week since they'd had it. Yeah. So the question is going to be is how durable is it, and how easy and cheap will it be to replace any missing piece? Like if one piece breaks, is that going to be like $1 to pay for that, or is it going to be like $10? Right. Because it's going to make a big difference.
And if you have to buy the Nintendo official stuff, it's going to be more expensive because they can charge more for their brand, right? But here's the thing. So it's not just the concept itself. I don't mind the concept in of itself. The more of the problems that I have with Labo is more of the timing of it than anything. So I have followed the Nintendo Switch community since launch. I've had a Switch since launch. I have a launch day Switch. And one major complaint, he went with me and got it.
And I do have to say, out of the 4 of us, you're probably Nintendo's biggest fan. If you can't tell by the hat and the shirt.
I mean, yeah.
And so I feel like, you probably, as far as the community goes, how is the community itself responding to?
Well, they're very split on it, actually. I mean, a lot of people. I go on Reddit a lot. I go on the Switch subreddit a lot, and you can't really criticize the Switch on the Switch subreddit, otherwise you'll get lynched because it's pretty much a hive mind on there. But on YouTube, people are very split on it because it's the timing of it. So a lot of people, the Switch does not have a really good online system. In fact, it has no online system. It doesn't have voice chat. It doesn't have a party system. It doesn't have messaging. It doesn't have any features except that it connects to the internet, And we've been begging Nintendo. Nintendo's been just so behind on online stuff, like forever. Like their servers aren't that good, and their games lag.
They're gonna charge like what $20,
and they're gonna charge $20 a year. But if they're gonna charge $20 a year for nothing, like that pisses me off. Like
because right now it's free.
Because right now it's free, and if they don't offer anything new and then they start charging us, that's gonna make me mad. It's the fact that they're prioritizing cardboard over basic features that the Nintendo Switch really needs right now, like desperately. If they had all of this already, I wouldn't be complaining so much about Labo. It's just, it seems like Nintendo's priorities with the Switch are a little out of whack for me because we don't have cloud saves. So if your Switch,
that is the one thing that makes me nervous about buying a Switch.
If your Switch breaks, you lose everything, everything.
Although you can save stuff to an SD card.
No, you can't. You can't save
saves.
You
can't save
you
saves.
can't save
you can
saves.
only upload games.
So I have 10 hours on Breath of the Wild. If my Switch just broke, gone. No way to recover it. Not a single way to recover it.
Something Xbox does amazingly well.
Yes, and keep in mind the Switch. They advertise the Switch as a portable console that you can drop outside because it's portable, and then you lose everything.
Or it gets rained on.
Or your kid throws it, or some guy steals it. Like literally, there is no way to recover your data. No online system. What do they give us? Cardboard.
So my question there is, who developed the Labo?
I
don't
can't
know the
answer. I can't answer that.
Because if it's like a specific developer, for example,
If he told you, he'd have to kill you.
well, it's like for
I can't
example,
tell
like
you.
there are exclusives to consoles, but that's not necessarily like God of War just came out for PlayStation, but Sony didn't make it. It was
There was a studio that they owned.
studio. So I'm wondering, is Labo something that's very specific? Like, was Nintendo, like, instead of focusing on other things, doing that, or was it some kind of deal that they had with another like developer? Or
Nintendo does all their things
engineer?
in house, though. I think.
Right, but they have people that do specific things. Like, these people might not have been able to do those things that you want. They might have been like specific for developing.
Are you
like,
talking
a
about
certain
how like
game.
Niantic developed Pokemon Go?
Exactly, like that's
Okay.
technically a Nintendo property, and by technically I mean it is, but Niantic made it.
Right.
So I'm wondering if Labo, not Cardboard, I was about to say Google Cardboard. That one failed completely.
Google Cardboard.
Yeah, so that's my only wonder. Question is, I
Cloud-based
wonder,
moving boxes.
were they focusing on Cardboard above those things, or was that like a separate division that wouldn't have been able to even fix your problems anyway?
I get what you're
I
saying.
do understand what your problem is.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't matter to me. The principle is still the same to me. They should have been prioritizing basic features since day one.
Like, at the very least, cloud saves.
At the very minimum, cloud save.
Do you think Nintendo is trying to live off its name and its ingenuity and its creativity and not investing in the infrastructure within their consoles themselves? Is that what you feel like you're frustrated
Potentially,
with?
but they did a lot better than the Wii U because the Wii U was terrible.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I don't think they would, because the Wii U was a failure.
Yeah, I think they've definitely made some big changes. Like they got Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey out in the same year. These
And
big
Mario Kart Party or Kart Deluxe.
Yeah, and they got two big open world games that were Game of the Year contenders. Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year. Big open adventures that adults could play as well as kids, trying to get rid of their, kiddie stigma, right? And that's what I liked about the Switch, is that it's starting to bring like the core gamers back, not just the let's sit on the couch and play party games kind of stigma that the Wii and the Wii U
Well, not
had.
that it doesn't have that though. 'Cause
Oh,
we
but it
do
does
have
have
1-2
that.
Switch,
But the point is that they have the
Yeah.
big core
but
games
they do have those. Yeah,
alongside the couch multiplayer
No, I agree.
games.
And they
Which is why the
added
Wii U had
Skyrim
nothing like
too,
that,
And I've
Yeah,
never
which I
owned a
thought was
Nintendo
kind of random,
console.
but
And I've never owned a Nintendo console. Not because I not wanted it or had not, I just never have. Never impressed me enough to get one. I want the Switch. In fact, it's in my Amazon cart right now. I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna get Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna get Mario Odyssey. I'm gonna get Mario Kart. I'm gonna get Super Smash Brothers when that comes out at one point in December probably, or whenever. I'm gonna get these games, but like because they're fun. And I've been even thinking about getting myself an Elite or a Pro controller.
Oh, that
them,
thing's
because
great.
I have a hard time controlling the Switch controls from the Joy-Con connected.
I
I'm
don't
okay
like the
with
Joy-Cons
it,
that much.
but
Yeah.
I feel like I would do a lot better with an actual controller because that's what I'm used to.
Uh-huh.
So, but I will buy a Switch. So I think that they've really shown that they want to make a difference in their games and their consoles, because they're getting someone who's never purchased one of their consoles ever. Not that I haven't played them, because I have, but never purchased one to get one. So I think that shows that it is different. Like, they have made those steps, and like you said, they're bringing in a core audience with real games that have cool features that you want to play.
They have the content. They have Breath of the Wild and Odyssey and just hours and hours of gameplay, Like a
Right.
rich story, things like that.
Okay, one question I have about this is, okay, so this whole Nintendo Labo is reminding me of two things. First of all, like the original Wii stuff, where you would have the Wiimote and you would play baseball or golf with it.
Right.
And is it trying to do that, but you don't have to be connected to like the TV, but you just have it there with you? Is that it?
I mean, you can.
I guess so. Well, since the Switch is portable, I guess that's what they're trying to do.
Okay, then what that then reminds me of is, I guess they were video games. I don't know if you guys had them, but you'd have like, you could have like a fishing pole thing. This was way back in the day where you'd have a screen on it and you would like launch it.
Like the
and
Fisher Price stuff?
And then
I never had one, but I saw
or
it.
or,
Yeah, I
or
don't
you could
know
have
what
a
you're talking
baseball
about.
bat where like it did have a
Cords.
little screen, and then when it comes your way, you have to hit it.
Oh, there was a lightsaber one
Yeah.
where you could see like little people lightsaber fighting, but you had to swing it yourself.
Right.
To
So this is reminding me of that. Would you say they're comparable? I mean, obviously the technology.
I actually don't know what you're
You
talking
mean for
about,
Labo?
to be honest.
Yeah.
next to
So
Nick?
I'm
I
too
would
young,
say,
I guess. I
Wow.
don't know what you're
I would
talking
say
about.
that it's, again, I'm gonna go back to comparing it to like Lego, or what was the other one that you had like the sticks that you could like snap into other ones.
Tinker Toys?
Bionicles?
Tinker Toys.
No, it was like
Imaginex?
Tinker Toys.
Connects? Yeah, I had Connects.
Like I
remember
would
those.
compare it to that because it's I mean it's a little different in that you can't build whatever you want. That's true. It'd be almost like you bought a Lego set. Obviously, with the Lego set, you can still build whatever you want, but it is specifically made for something. So Nintendo Labo is you buy the set, that piece of cardboard or whatever, those pieces of cardboard, and then it tells you what to do with them. So it's still about the building process, discovering process, but then you can play little games, maybe comparable to those ones as a kid. I think they're more advanced because I mean technology is
obviously.
way
Yeah.
more, and they used to look like crap back in the day. This actually has color,
Yeah.
so that's different. But I mean, I guess in a way you can compare it to that. But I mean, the building aspect is what I think really sets it apart because it gives you more to do. Like even as an adult, maybe you don't care about the game, but you might love building things with your hand. And then you can also design them. Like you can put stuff on them, you can color them, and you can make it your own thing. So there's tons of different areas of creativity that goes into it. So you might have 4 of the RC cars, but they can all be completely different. Then you can put knives on the front of them and have them fight each other. Like
And then destroy your Switch and lose all your data.
well, not your
Yeah,
Switch.
yeah, hey,
You put
awesome.
the Joy-Cons on it. The Switch
Oh,
is separate on that one specifically.
okay.
So, like, I mean, I don't know if people
That'd make
do
me
that.
buy
And I don't
it,
even
though.
know if they go fast enough to do, like, actually destroy each other. But I'm just saying, like, there are things you can do creatively that will interest even the
Okay.
adult sector, I think, more than those crappy
Right.
Fisher Price games that we used to have as kids.
So is it trying to combine working with your hands with video games?
Yes.
In a
And I think
sense.
that's cool.
That
Well,
is
you,
cool.
You want to know something interesting is that the current director of Nintendo has said that he wants a Switch in every single household. Like he
Like
wants
a Wii?
he wants every single person to own a Switch. He wants to give anybody, even non-gamers, a reason to own a
Surprise.
Switch.
Guess what that means?
So-
Money.
Exactly. So I guess maybe Labo is a way to get a
for
Switch
it's
in
so
the
expensive.
hands. It is. It's a way to get a Switch in the hands of people who might not otherwise play games. And, you know, they can do it, but I don't have to agree with it. I just wish they would focus on the important stuff right now. Hopefully with their online system, it's coming. They haven't released all the information about their online system yet. It launches in September, which is way too late, but it is what it is. Better late than never. But that's pretty much all I have left to say about Labo is I just hope that they have the other stuff planned to be fixed. Otherwise, I will be majorly disappointed.
I think that's fair. And now we're going to move past Nintendo because it seems like we talk about them a lot. And we're going to go straight into God of War. So God of War just came out for the PS4 and PS4 Pro, of course. And the reviews are insanely
Phenomenal.
good.
Amazing.
People say it's probably one of the best games ever. And it's, on some of the gaming sites, they've given it a 10 out of 10. It has beautiful graphics, has an entire story with fleshed out characters, like more of a father and son kind of journey that's taken through it, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So the biggest complaint, though, that I've seen about God of War is that it is a father and son story with fleshed out characters as opposed to the kind of gore fest with just pure like boss fight, death battles, just
Like the other God of War
insane
games.
fighting that God of War used to be, and now it's more of an Uncharted, more of a Last of Us.
Okay.
War of games that PlayStation already has.
Are they doing that to try to reach a broader audience?
Yeah, I mean, there's no sex in this one, which every other one's had a lot of. I'm just saying.
Did you play the other God of War?
I've never played one, but I know
Oh.
they had tons of sex because people talked about it in their reviews. They were
Because
like-
he would watch the cutscenes.
Yeah.
yeah, with their PS1 graphics where you can't see anything. The best. But so I think that was interesting to me because I mean, with all these rave reviews, very few people have said anything negative, but the few that have has been like, "Where's the God of War I knew?" And that was interesting to me because it's almost like those movies that you can tell just want Oscars,
Yeah.
where they put the other cast and it's just like it's not a movie to have fun with. It's more of a movie that you know is like going to be like a serious thing. They want to get good reviews. I feel like in a way, God of War was kind of pushing for that a little bit. Was pushing to get those good reviews, get that game of the year, as opposed to staying true to what they were. And it's working.
Oh, it's working big time.
It's going to get tons of people to buy the PlayStation, but I feel like a few of the hardcore God of War fans might be upset. They even got rid of his main sword chains,
Mm-hmm.
and they have an axe that's cool apparently because it can come back to you, kind of like Mjolnir. with
Oh, it's an
Thor.
awesome axe. Yeah.
So like they have cool stuff in it, but people are a little upset because it seems like he's a completely different character. Because he, while killing gods,
He's a father now.
also would kill tons of innocent people,
oh.
and he just like
Well, he is the God
didn't
of War.
care. Well, he was.
Was.
And also, this does have a completely different mythology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So-
they switched the mythology completely. They left Greek behind.
Okay, so
Completely.
they're breaking from the original lore, and they are
Also, different voice actor,
Oh, okay.
So it really is a different person altogether.
essentially.
Okay. So they're breaking away from the original lore. So it's kind of, I mean, you would say it's not necessarily a sequel, but a remix.
It's a reboot.
A reboot.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
except for that he still has like a scar from previous god battles and the previous games.
Mm-hmm.
I saw someone point that out.
Yeah.
So how are they going to keep with the lore if all the Greek? Oh, is it because in the
They switched. They're not doing Greek anymore. They've completely switched.
Because he killed everyone.
yeah,
There's no-
that's what I was thinking.
There's no
They
more
just-
mythology
Are
left.
they going to a
There's no
different
more-
religion?
Yeah, because
I'm trying to remember what they
Greek
switched
gods.
to. I want to say.
It's time to go get those Romans.
Nick, do you know what it
The
is?
Roman
I do
gods
not.
instead of Greek
I
gods.
just-
I
didn't
know
say
it's like I
God
just
War.
can't remember.
They just
Yeah.
call them Mars and
Well,
and
I will
Neptune.
I'll say this. I watched a video today about God of War, and apparently the developers, Sony Santa Monica, like the director of the game said that he just wanted to completely reboot the series entirely with this game. Like he wanted to give it a new face, a new style, new everything. And from what when the guy in the video was saying was that it's working, you know, everyone's loving this game. And the depth of the story is just, you know, capturing people, and it's making them feel emotional about Kratos and his son, and just this reboot has worked really well. It's going to be really successful, and
It is Norse mythology.
I was
Norse
just
mythology.
gonna say,
Okay.
Yeah.
is
That's what
it
they
Norse?
do, too.
So he's gonna be fighting Odin
I guess
and
so.
Thor. Okay.
Oh, if he fights Thor, I might go buy the game.
I guess
now.
I should have realized that because in like
'Cause I have a
one of the
PlayStation.
parts that I saw, he fought Loki. So
Yeah.
I should have just known.
Well,
Right,
I'm sold.
I didn't even think about
Looks like
it.
I'm going to go buy the game tomorrow. I have a PlayStation 4, so
And I'll be at your house
and you'll be at my house. So.
playing it while I.
Mhm.
I will
Let's
too.
watch. Watch and record.
Let's watch Nick.
That's not
fail at
coined,
God
by the
of
way. I
War.
totally stole it from Achievement Hunter.
Let's
That's
watch.
what they call them.
Okay, so it seems from what you guys are saying, the only criticism about the game is coming from
That's very few people.
right, very few.
very few.
But is it only coming from
The
The-
diehards.
yeah the base fans from the beginning?
Yeah, and a lot of those negative thoughts as well were released even before the game came out. That was just they were like worried about it from when they were told. So they hadn't even played the game. Most of the people I saw, there might have been a couple here and there that had negative reviews. Hard to find probably, but at least the majority of the ones I read were people assuming it was going to suck because of those reasons. So even most of them haven't played the game, and maybe they'll love it. Maybe it's so good that it won't even matter.
Right. I think a lot of people have probably said things like that. I bet there are plenty of, you know, God of War fans from the original games that have played the game. They're like, you know what? I was skeptical, but this is honestly amazing, and my mind has been changed. I think I can stand by this developer as they make more God of War games, because they're going to. This game has been a massive success already, so there's going to be more.
they're going to milk it for more.
Hopefully it
I mean,
continues
it's
to be
already
of
the
this quality.
5th game. I think they've already milked it.
Yeah.
But they're going to
They're gonna keep
continue.
doing it. But I do think it's safe to say some people probably won't like the game.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to happen. What I do think is a little unfair, and this happens every time a game comes out with rave reviews, happened with Zelda, happened with Horizon Zero Dawn, happens with everyone, is in Metacritic, they'll have rave reviews, and people will get pissed about it for whatever reason and say, oh, I don't think it's fair the game has that good of a review, and we'll give it a 0. Even if they might have liked it a 70, but they don't think it's fair that it has that good of a review, so they'll give it the worst grade ever.
So they try to
balance it out. Which I think is insane.
Okay,
Because they're
It's like,
butthurt.
what does that help you at all? And
It
we're
doesn't.
Not going to delve too much into that, but it's just like a weird thought to me. It's like any game doing well isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's like I don't have a PlayStation, but it doesn't bother me when a PlayStation game does well.
It just
like,
means
it's cool.
it means that other developers have something to aspire to. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to match or beat that. And
But
so
I think that's insane to just give something a bad review.
he almost dropped his phone.
But I do want to actually use that to move on to our main topic. So the main topic is, do stories even matter in a game? And along with that, it's going to be kind of, what do we look for in a game? Like, what matters most? Because the original God of Wars didn't have super intense stories. They had some story. Obviously, he's pissed and he wants to kill all the gods for whatever reason. I actually don't know. But they weren't super story focused. That wasn't their goal. And people loved them. They did well. That's why they're making so many of them. So the question is, does story even matter? Or is the most important thing being able to play with friends? Is the most important thing the graphics? Is the most important thing the gameplay, what you're doing?
I'm going to go ahead and start here since I didn't have much to say about God of War. So, for stories for me are very, very important. It's not... If it doesn't have a story, I'm not super turned off by it, but, for example, I'm going to go with Five Nights at Freddy's. That game, I know that, like, Kiefer and Nick aren't really...
I have the first one.
Yeah, you have the
bought
first,
the first one.
There's 6 of them now.
Yeah, well, I needed one.
Hey, I don't have any of
I
them.
saw gameplay for most of the others.
The reason that kept me coming back with Five Nights at Freddy's wasn't so much the gameplay, because the gameplay was very simple, very like not
Sometimes.
simple.
To be fair, wasn't the story as well very simple unless you look into the lore online?
Well, like the story was very, very complex, and that's what kept me coming back, was because I would see these theories about it, and I would look into it myself when I was playing the game, and it was just the fact that the story was so complex, even though on the outside it didn't look like it. That's what kept me coming back, was because there was a story that was kind of behind the scenes that you had to kind of dig yourself, and all the games that I like to play have a story behind it. Like, I don't think I would like Heroes of the Storm as much as I do if I didn't know the stories behind StarCraft, or if I didn't know the stories behind Warcraft. And that's honestly why I don't play a lot of the Diablo characters all that much, because I haven't played Diablo all that much, and so I can't really... But still, I know enough of the stories behind a lot of the Heroes of the Storm characters that I like. That's why I prefer Heroes of the Storm to League, because some of the gameplay for League might... some of them I might like a little better than Heroes, but the fact is, I know the characters from Heroes of the Storm. I know their background, and it's just cool seeing them go... It's cool seeing Varian fight against like Abathur. Or it's cool seeing like some of the characters that I normally wouldn't associate together in the same game because they're from the same company.
Tracer and Raynor.
Yeah, Tracer fighting, or like in the trailer that they have at the beginning, where it has like Nova fighting Tyrael from Diablo, and then Raynor.
Tyrion Lannister?
Yeah.
Interesting crossover.
Kerrigan
He'd be a tank.
That'd be awesome. Some Game of Thrones.
Kerrigan and all these StarCraft and Warcraft and Diablo characters fighting against each other. That was really cool.
Okay, I'm going to push you a little bit on this because I'm curious to hear what you have to say. As far as story versus lore, because we know
Mm-hmm.
that Five Nights at Freddy's has deep
Lore.
story and lore,
Mm-hmm.
but the story isn't presented in the gameplay. I mean, it is. You have to search for it. You have to go through these, these mini games and find these clues and connect them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you play something like Ratchet and Clank, the story is very apparent.
It's presented itself, yeah.
There's no secret to it. You know what it is, and it's similar to.
Well, along that line, just to interrupt you really quick, Heroes of the Storm doesn't have story. It only has lore, because none of the stories from the past game, or any of those past games, actually makes any play in Heroes of the Storm. Like,
Well-
anything that happened in Warcraft in no way affects
Stays.
Heroes of the Storm, really.
Well, no, but the reason why I like Heroes of the Storm so much is because of
You know the
story.
character, but I'm
And
saying,
the
but
characters,
it
and I
is
know the stories
purely
from
lore,
before.
because Heroes of the Storm doesn't have a story.
So I mean, like, what if you took time to research and come to like the lore that's in League of Legends, which they do have? Would you want to play League more?
Yeah, I probably would play League a little more if I. But the for me, when I first played League, that first time when I played with you, and when we played with Riley, I had no idea who these people were. Like, I think I played that Ice character. I don't even know their names very well. It's
Ice
like
character
Ice Witch.
Lysandra?
Yeah,
Lysandra.
or
played-
Ash?
I played Lysandra.
I played Ash
He would have
first.
known Ash.
Yeah, like Ash was like the second person I played, but I played Lysandra first.
Okay.
But like I looked at all these characters and I'm like, who are all these people? Where'd they come from? Like, obviously there's gonna be a lore behind them, but because like Blizzard came out with their games first, like StarCraft, Warcraft, Diablo, like they fleshed out their characters first before coming out with Heroes of the Storm. Like, I'm not aware of any games that these like that Lysandra or Ash or Garen might be in.
Because that is the
Like,
game that
'cause
they're in.
that's their game that
Yeah.
they're in. But it's like kind of like if I might, you have to kind of dig for the lore. You have to. Well, I'm sure it has in the character description and everything.
It does.
But
There's a website, yeah.
like you have to
and sometimes
you have to kind of go out of your way, instead of finding like learning about the characters in gameplay or as the story progresses, you're just like, oh, okay, here is Lux. She's a princess, or what was she a princess? I don't even know. She's
No,
like-
She's Garen's sister.
yeah, Garen's sister. She's Garen's sister, and she's a student of light magic or something.
and from
like,
Demacia.
and from Demacia.
Demacia! Sorry,
Like,
I didn't do
that's-
that.
Okay. So would you say then Heroes of the Storm you enjoy it indirectly because of storyline?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
So if I didn't know any of the stories like League, like I really only play League when you guys want to play together. I don't play it by myself. I play Heroes by myself because I started getting into Heroes because of the stories that I had played that I'd already known very well from playing StarCraft 2, from playing. I honestly didn't play Warcraft 1 or 2, but I
But you
played
like
Warcraft 3,
Overwatch, which has zero story,
yeah, I do like Overwatch, but I play that very
sparingly.
sparingly. Like I played it like maybe 3 times this week, and it was only for like one game at a time.
I was,
I was like, man,
Well, 3 times this week, but like for like 10 minutes at a time. Like I don't
one
play.
match.
Like, I would play one match and then I would like go straight over to Heroes.
Okay.
Like I play it in bursts. Like right now they have this competitive elimination, which I thought was kind of fun. So I decided to see how I could get ranked in that, which I got ranked terribly. By the way, I won 5, lost 5, and I got placed at like
1 point.
bronze.
So I'd almost say that it's more important for you to connect to a character than there be a story even.
Well, yeah, but there has to be a story for you to connect to the.
Okay. So I mean, how
Yeah.
I know you're a
I-
fan of World of Warcraft,
Mhm.
and the story, like when I think when we're talking about stories, we're talking about a plot,
Mhm.
Yeah.
climax, resolution.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft doesn't have that. So how do you justify that?
It actually does. You just have to pay attention to the quest. Because like sometimes some people might just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna accept this quest," and not even read what the quest giver has to say.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you read what the quest giver had to say, then you're gonna start to be able to piece it together more. And there is actually like that you can follow kind of a main quest line which takes you to a raid, or it takes you to a boss and then takes you to a raid, and then you can and then it kind of progresses with the story there. But yeah, you have to be paying attention because, like, I'm sure in the quest that I helped you with, when I was flying around on my dragon,
Thank you.
when I was a dragon, or with the what's that mount called? The one where you can turn into a dragon and someone can mount
It's like
you.
the Obsidian Nightwing or something.
Ryan likes to get mounted.
Oh yes.
He does the mountain.
So like when I was
no,
running you through it
I-
initially, like, did you really read the quest? Like
No.
we just and I've been guilty of that too with World of Warcraft. I don't read the quest. I just see what they want me to do and I do it. But if you actually do read, it does have a story behind it. You just need to
Get into
Well,
it.
every expansion has a story behind it, and then all the events lead up, like the end game content, the raids. They all tell a story, the story of that expansion of the World of Warcraft universe.
Huh.
Like in the current expansion, we killed Gul'dan eventually, finally, because he was in the end of the last expansion, and now I don't know what they're doing now because I haven't followed the game in a while. But in the next expansion, it's Alliance versus Horde, back to the classics, So it tells a story.
All right, what about you, Tanner? What do you think
Okay.
about?
So I was going to say, kind of relating to what you were saying about Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is an epic crossover of many different games. And I know I brought this up last time, but it's huge for me on this topic, but it's Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts has story. It has conflict resolution, although nothing seems to get resolved ever. And that's just how they continue milking it out for more games.
So does story matter? to
Like
you,
Final
though,
Fantasy.
Personally,
Yeah,
Like,
so-
what is it that gets you sucked into a game?
Okay, so I would say yes, and even like 2 years ago, I would have said absolutely. I like campaigns, which is why I didn't want to play the new Battlefront that came out a few years ago.
Well, the new one did.
The
first one
The
did.
one before
the,
that.
the first one
Okay.
is because just multiplayer. Like I did not want that. I wanted to be taken through a story. I wanted character development. I wanted, things to lead up to a certain point and things to get resolved. I like that. It happens in Kingdom Hearts, and it's that story. Why I'm going to buy Kingdom Hearts Kingdom Hearts 3 when I'm 60 years old.
Alexa.
Alexa, shut up.
Sorry about that.
Well, no, that's part of what drew me into Kingdom Hearts was, well, the thing that drew me in at first was because I knew the Disney characters and I knew a lot of the Final Fantasy characters too. Like I'd already played Final Fantasy 7, I already kind of played a little bit of Final Fantasy 8, and like Final Fantasy, I didn't really play 9 at all. I knew some of the characters, but I played 10, and then in Final Fantasy, and I think in Kingdom Hearts 2 is when you see some of the Final Fantasy 10 characters, but no, it's in 1 because Tidus is a little kid
and Waka.
in Waka. Yeah, so part of what drew me into Kingdom Hearts was because I knew a lot of the characters already. I'm like, well, this is another epic crossover with characters you wouldn't even imagine in the same universe.
Fighting alongside Goofy and Sephiroth, like what the heck?
And, then there's Winnie, there's
story
Winnie the
matters for
Pooh.
you. As well.
Okay, yeah. So I would say story does matter for me, and as a gamer beforehand, I would have said absolutely. That's why I loved going through Final Fantasy games because so much story in it. And I mentioned before Ratchet and Clank. After I would beat a Ratchet and Clank game, the resolution made me feel like cathartic. I felt like I'd watched a movie and I went through a journey with a character, which is any book or any movie or any TV show is supposed to do for you. And so I liked that in a video game as well. It's just more interactive. But that being said, I got myself into Heroes of the Storm and got myself into League of Legends, into Overwatch, despite it all being multiplayer. So I don't know. Did my preferences just change, or did I just discover something that I didn't know I liked as much? Maybe. I do find myself though, like I'm playing through Final Fantasy X again, but I'm finding myself choosing a multiplayer game over a story mode game as well. Like I'm also trying to go through Half-Life right now, and
Part 1 and Part 2.
Half-Life Source. So it's the first one, and then I'll work my way through the others.
And then you'll play the 3 that doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Old
By the
memes.
way,
Good old Valve.
Play
Yeah.
Half-Life 2.
Never adding a
finishes,
third
you're
game
gonna
to
want the
anything.
third.
and it's just not happening, right?
It won't.
No, it won't, yeah.
Wow. So do I even want to play the second and get?
Maybe you shouldn't.
I don't know. I did enjoy.
Is it like waiting for Firefly season 2?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
pretty much.
Can't relate.
No.
Can't relate.
No, I've seen Firefly.
Can relate.
Can relate.
Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of up in the air on it because lately I've been choosing multiplayer games over story-based games, especially if I can play with friends. My favorite thing is co-op campaign. That is my favorite, actually.
Bringing that up, have you ever played Portal 2?
I haven't.
It's so fun, and you can do a co-op, and it's a different campaign completely.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
And
so
it's
maybe
probably
like
we
a
can do a let's
$1
play for
on
that
Steam.
because I have it.
I have
I have
it.
Portal 2. You
All right.
have it?
I even
Okay.
built one of my own maps. You can only do 2 people at most, though.
Okay,
Oh.
well then me and Ryan.
They will
Or
do
me
a
and
Let's
Keithan.
Play.
Or me
It's
and
okay,
Nick, but
Keithan.
you guys can't
We'll
do it.
play something else together.
So yeah, it's I think I don't know. I like playing multiplayer games mostly with friends, of course. Not as much by myself. I still will. But
He does like to play with himself sometimes.
oh, shut up.
Family-friendly podcast.
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
for when Keepin's involved.
Except for when it's not.
Most of the time it is.
So I would think that when the reason you've kind of made your gaming decisions, I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but with online gaming, it's a little easier. I mean, yeah, you don't always know how long the game's gonna be, but it's a little easier to time out because like most
Yeah.
Heroes of the Storm games are like gonna be like in between 15 and 20 minutes. Hero or League, it's like gonna be 20 to 30.
But you
And
know,
then- but you
beforehand.
know more or less. But like if you start a story, if you're starting a campaign, it's a little harder to time that one out because you might. It depends on if there's a save feature or if you need to wait until like. And then if
Or
you
if
get
you get too sucked into it.
yeah, if you get too sucked
Yeah.
in, and then you just keep on playing and playing and playing, and then you're late to work, or
Breath of
you-
the Wild.
Been there, done that.
or you start shirking other responsibilities. So like, I think that might be, especially now since you're married. I mean, that might be a little harder to. I mean, when
Yeah.
since you can time out the multiplayer games a little easier than you can playing.
It's true, and
campaign.
I think so. Like when I play, even though Heroes of the Storm or League takes an insane amount of concentration, I know what I'm in for. I don't always know what I'm in for campaign wise. I mean, so it's true. And so does story matter the most? What's most important? I don't know. It seems like I don't have one set thing. If the game is good in other ways, then I think I'll be playing it story mode or not.
So I'm gonna go into a little bit what I feel and maybe even a kind of good explanation for why you might have changed. But let's see what Nick has to say.
Well, I think it's a game-by-game basis for me. Some games, like The Legend of Zelda, should have a compelling story, start to finish. It's all about the characters, all about the story. The dungeons and the combat obviously have to be good, but if there's no end goal in The Legend of Zelda, why am I playing it? And some people complain that Breath of the Wild is kind of like that, but there's still a story there, and it did really well. But it's game by game for me. Like a game like Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends, while the lore is cool and fun for me, it's not really all that important as long as the gameplay is there, the core gameplay. You know, it's a MOBA, it's player versus player. You have your abilities. You beat the Nexus. You destroy the Nexus.
Beat the Nexus.
Yeah, you
I
beat the
guess,
crap out of it.
Depending
You
on
can't
which
fight back.
character.
Boom.
I beat you.
Yeah, but those games aren't so much about story for me. But a lot of games can do both, I think. And a lot of games do both. What's a good example of a game that's kind of done both?
Actually, I was going to say Diablo is one reason why I keep wanting you to play with me is because it does have campaign.
Yeah.
And it's
it-
co-op.
and it's co-op.
But Diablo also has a compelling story and multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good example. Yeah, and I will say this, the Call of Duty games, not all of them have been great, but some of them have really good campaigns alongside really good multiplayer, like Modern Warfare 2. Which
Call of Duty 2.
yeah.
I still have that.
He still has
Great
that.
game.
I have the
But
first
yeah,
one.
some of those games had a compelling campaign and compelling multiplayer. So it's a game-by-game basis for me. Like Sea of Thieves, Personally, I wish Sea of Thieves was more story driven than multiplayer driven because I feel like it would have drawn me in a little more. But that's not the way Rare made it. Rare made it as a sandbox multiplayer game to mess around with your friends and have pirate fights and quests and stuff. But I feel the same way about Overwatch as well. I would love a campaign because these Retribution and the Uprising events keep making me want that. But for me, it's just game by game. And another thing that makes me iffy on this debate, I guess, is I feel like I have to have accomplished something when I play a game. And that's why I think lately I've been more into the multiplayer games because if I see my rank go up in Heroes of the Storm or League, I'm like, oh, I'm accomplishing something, and it could lead to something. Whereas I haven't been playing as many single-player games lately because I just feel like I'm going through a story and that's it. Maybe it's just as I get older, I realize that I don't want to waste time on something that doesn't feel like I'm accomplishing anything, but...
No, that might be... That might be by design too, is why a lot of games have been going more towards multiplayer because of the psychology behind it. Because if you see your rank go up, or like with the loot boxes and the psychology behind the loot boxes, it's like a dopamine shot every time something like your rank goes up, or every time you
That's
get.
how
something.
mobile games get you addicted because they give you like a spin when you log in for the first time of the day, or they give you something every time you log in. And then they give you little levels, and then you have lives in a lot of those games.
To make you feel good,
back.
right.
And it's like, you feel like the sense of loss because you only have 5 lives and get another one every hour or so. So you feel a loss if you lose, but you also get all these big rewards and shiny graphics.
Yeah.
So, but I would say a big reason that I think story, for me, is less important is time. Kind of like what you mentioned. It's like, especially the older you get, the less time you have. So it's so much harder to go through an entire story, especially a game where there's like 40-minute cutscenes. Apparently
Mass
God of
Effect.
War, the very beginning of the game was so slow and is very cutscene heavy because it's trying to bring you into this new story. But that's not always what you want or have time for. If you only have 40 minutes before you go to work, you don't want to spend that watching the game before you can play it.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, for me, I want to play the game, see some cool cutscenes here and there, but I don't want a Metal Gear Solid where you're watching an entire movie, then you get to play that movie. I did contradict that playing Quantum Break because it actually has a TV series tied to it where the things you do in the game actually change what the TV series plays out as with real live actors. So kind of an interesting idea, and I will say that I contradicted myself a little bit there because that was a little bit different, but I thought that was also like a really cool thing to do. So for me, I think the most important thing is gameplay. Why I say that? If a game has a great story but crap gameplay and it's infuriating to play, you'll probably stop playing. But if the game has awesome gameplay, maybe you won't even finish the story, but you'll have a ton of fun playing it. It's like Skyrim. The first time I played Skyrim, I didn't even finish the main quest because I got so distracted
Who
by
does in
all of the
Skyrim?
other. I did replay it and I beat it.
I beat it.
When I got it on my Xbox One, I beat it. On the 360, I just messed around because that's a game where the gameplay is fun. It's not perfect. No Bethesda game's ever perfect.
Oh, definitely not.
Ever, by any stretch of the imagination. But they're fun. It's fun to explore the world. It's fun to go in the dungeons. It's fun to do side quests. It's fun to see what they've created in this huge open world. And it's just exciting every time you go and do something new and you choose what path you want to take and you kill whoever you want or you don't because you're a good person if you are, which I don't know anyone that ever plays good in those games, but...
Plus, it's always fun to walk up right upside the mountain with your horse.
Oh yeah, classic.
Physics breaking horses.
But like to me, the gameplay is the number one thing, and if it has a cool story that doesn't take away from the gameplay, I'll love it. So the first Titanfall came out, and it's actually the reason I got my Xbox One, and I loved it. It was so fun, multiplayer only. I did wish it had a campaign because it is fun to sometimes take some time to yourself and feel like you're good.
That's why you get the second one.
And the second one came out, it had the story, and I was hesitant. I thought they might have just shoehorned it in, as many games do, just to like be like, fine, you wanted it.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Wow! Titanfall 2 had one of the most amazing stories I've ever played in a game. Like, super compelling.
That was what got me into Titanfall 2 in the first place, because you said it had a campaign. I'm like, oh, well,
and
cool.
it's really good. It has that amazing gameplay. It has the awesome wall running. It has the amazing shooting. All the mechanics are down. The gameplay is there. And then it added a super cool story on top of it that I feel wasn't super cutscene heavy, so it didn't take me out of the game as much. So for me, I know people love that kind of stuff, and I played Tomb Raider, so it does have some of that kind of stuff in it, but it's still way more gameplay focused. And so, yeah, I do love a story, and I like it if it's a good one, of course. I'm not going to play if it's a crappy story, which there are lots of.
Yeah.
But to me, the gameplay is the number one thing. Like, if it has great gameplay, it can have subpar graphics. I appreciate graphics. A game with good graphics, I like.
Well,
But you don't need
That's
it.
why you have an Xbox
I
One
mean,
X.
just like
Yeah,
our
it is.
recent let's play with
Oh, yeah, Thief Town.
Thief Town.
Terrible graphics. It's like an old, fun, like retro game.
But
It's
so
like-
much fun.
But it was a ton of fun.
Final Fantasy VII is also good. The graphics on that game, I mean,
Awful, but they
yeah, but yeah, it looks like you're walking around as like. As
But
a
if the
Lego.
gameplay is fun,
Yeah, the gameplay. Well, the,
gameplay
the
and the
graphics.
story.
The graphics on the when you're actually fighting are better, but like when you're just walking around doing the story part. I mean, if the story wasn't compelling, I mean, yeah, that would.
I would not play it.
and I think sometimes the multiplayer aspect can save a game. And why I say that is because, like Thief Town, not a game I'm ever going to really sit down and play by myself.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's not a game I'll ever do that with. But playing with friends, especially right beside me, is extremely fun. It's kind of like Gang Beasts. Excuse me. They haven't played that game, but it's terrible to control. But it's really funny and really like kind of dorky and fun. So with friends, especially right by you, you can have like a really fun time on like a kind of crappy game.
Yeah.
But it's just because you can have like wacky fun. So I think, like Nick says, like some games need certain elements to make them what they are. And sometimes that might be just having that local multiplayer scene or having that online scene to make it good. But to me, I think it's gameplay first and foremost.
Okay, so you said that you had maybe an explanation of why I
So
changed.
time. That was my
Time.
big reason. I think it's time because as a kid, you might get one game or 2 games a year because your parents buy it for you because you're poor. But you have so much time, so you take all the time. I played Oblivion for hundreds of hours because it was like my game, and I wasn't going to get a lot of new ones. So I sat there and played tons of Oblivion, which does have a good story, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Not an amazing story, but it's fun. But it had really fun gameplay and really fun things that I could do. So I just played it forever. So, but I don't have that time now.
Right.
I can't sit down and play 100 hours in 4 weeks or whatever.
If you
or
had that
over
time,
months.
Would you do it? Even and you had the money to buy other games still, so it's not your only game.
I
Yes.
think I would still go for more multiplayer with friends games, just because I think the social aspect is fun.
And if you didn't have friends,
Well, but then I also say that because I'm at work all the time. So if I didn't have work, maybe I would play a lot more single player story mission or games because I would want that story to entertain me. But right now, while I'm at work for 8 hours a day or in school, I feel so busy. Anytime with friends is just like a relief and it's fun. And if I had all the free time in the world, I could split that maybe more evenly, and I would go back to enjoying those more. But I still would say gameplay is first and foremost for me. Like I know you guys like what is that Doki Doki game or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Like it's a
not
visual
really
novel.
a game, but
like it was fun once.
but I'm not really.
Yeah.
Never like I wouldn't do it again. I don't think I would do another visual novel in a while unless it had some type of compelling.
I mean,
Story.
was-
Right, but to
Or
me, it's
concept.
like I would rather read a book. But if I'm going to play a game, I want it to actually be a game.
You want it to be
I
a
mean,
game.
that was the whole thing with that drew me into Doki Doki was that on the tags on the Steam store, it's a psychological thriller. I'm like, I've got to try this. I have to see what this is all about, and because I hadn't really seen anyone play it before when I started playing it, and so I think I had seen Markiplier start it, like maybe just do the first episode,
Yeah.
and then I just took off from there. And I mean that I do agree with Keith, like in the whole, if the gameplay sucks or if the gameplay is great and the story sucks, you're still probably gonna be playing it. Whereas if the gameplay sucks and the story is okay, then you might not play it as much.
In
But
fact, I've actually read the story to a game
Uh-huh.
that the gameplay wasn't super fun or it just got really like tiresome and annoying. I've just read the story so that I could get the story because I wanted to know, but I didn't want to suffer through the gameplay to get there.
But
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
like I know I've suffered through a few games that I didn't enjoy as much just because I actually did like the story. Because for me, if like the only reason I got into Heroes was because of the story I knew previously, and like it just I don't know. It's like the crossovers that you saw as a kid in Disney. Like I don't know. Like I never actually saw this one. This
Like
is
what? Right.
like
I'm trying to think of any example. and I can't think of any.
I did see a clip on YouTube once where they did a crossover of it was Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner.
Oh.
Like they did a crossover where they
Jimmy Power Hour. Or Jimmy
and
Timmy
I
Power
thought that
Hour?
was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
and crossovers are one
Right.
reason why people love them so much is because you take different characters and different storylines
That you
and
love.
yeah, and you put them together. We've got Avengers: Infinity War coming out,
Oh.
and
How many days? 5?
soon,
5 days.
soon.
5 days.
And we're not going to see it for another month.
Shut up. Don't say that.
But like, speaking of reading a storyline, I've actually played games, finished them, loved the story so much that I went back and read it to make sure that I got everything. Like
Yeah.
BioShock, the first one, loved that game, played it, had a great time, and then I went and reread the story to make sure that I understood everything that happened. Didn't have time to replay the game, sadly, but I loved it, and it was just, I wanted to remember that story. So I'm not saying the story isn't great, but the gameplay was really what kept me going because it was just so satisfying.
No, I have to say, like you said, you went and read the stories of games. I've done that too. Well, like FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't played past the first game, but I have watched the Let's Plays of it because I was so intrigued by the storyline. I didn't want to suffer through it myself. And, that's one reason why Let's Plays are so popular is that you can get through a game without having to get through a game. You could have someone else do the dirty work for you.
Or you might not have the money and you want to see the game.
Well, okay,
and
with
the
Five Nights at Freddy's,
personalities.
that's not a good excuse because Five Nights is like $5 per game.
But what
but
if you
like,
want
yeah,
that
like-
$5 foot long? Not sponsored by Subway, by the way.
No, but yeah, like with for example, with Markiplier, the one who I've watched do most of those Five Nights videos. I mean, yeah, how much time do you think he actually spent doing those? Because the times he kept on dying and having to go back and diving, and then all the editing he did. I mean, yeah, that's I
You
definitely
know who
agree.
you would love to watch? Achievement Hunter play it because they're terrible and it would stress you out so bad.
But like,
They
so,
would
yeah,
frustrate you
the
to
whole
no
the whole
end.
time concept is where we're getting at. So like, yeah, you don't want to. Like Tanner didn't want to suffer through it because it would have taken him that much time. Plus, he found it stressful. So, like having other people do it for you. And not having to see all the stress that they. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
you do
all
see,
the highlights. You get all the highlights.
get all the
you
highlights,
see the
and
story happen.
You see enough of it where you don't have to, and you don't. Have
You
to
don't
go
have to
through all the
read it.
negatives.
But you can watch, you can still watch it happen. You're not the one that accomplished it. You don't have this sense of accomplishment, but you also haven't wasted a lot of your time. I feel like, with all the other responsibilities that I have, if I took that time to beat all of the FNAF games, the satisfaction of beating it wouldn't justify all the time spent.
Right.
Which is why, if I play 2 hours worth of League and I lose all my games, that sucks, but I know the next victory is just around the corner.
And you probably still got experience, and you probably it still gave you things toward building up your person.
I got
profile.
Yeah.
probably got some gray hairs playing it.
Yeah, I
losing.
mean, everyone loves that sexy gray hair, right? So we're gonna finish the main topic.
Pretty sure I'm the only one that has gray hair here.
With the last thing I kind of want to think of, and that's: do you need to beat a game to feel like you got your money's worth, or feel like you actually the money you spent was worthwhile? And that might be more important for people to love their story-driven games.
First thing I have to say about that is, when I was a kid, I did not buy my games, and so the dynamic has changed. Your money's worth. Are we talking about just like adults and past? So like we're not talking about our childhood games, right? Because there were games back then that I didn't pay for, my parents bought, but I never beat, and I still.
But now you buy your own games. Because Nick says yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think. Well, with Breath of the Wild, I spent $100 on Breath of the Wild because I got the collector's edition. Because I'm a Zelda freak.
I'm gonna get the one that comes with
Non-collector's
DLC. So I'm gonna get it's like $80.
Yeah, the one that gets with the DLC. Yeah, and that was part of it. Actually, no, I paid $120 for Breath of the Wild because I bought the DLC while I was buying the collector's edition. Wow, I need a girlfriend. Anyways,
Obviously you don't. So you have that money. To spend,
yeah.
So.
Anyways, but so obviously putting 110 hours into the game means that for every dollar, I guess I got an hour of gameplay. So to me, that's worth it. And I feel like I have gotten my money's worth out of Breath of the Wild since I paid a lot of good money for it. And I feel like I definitely need to beat a game to get my money's worth because especially, and really it only applies to story-driven games for me. Because like I bought the Uncharted series for my PlayStation. That's my favorite series on PlayStation. Like, why would I play through the Uncharted series but not finish the games and then say I got my money's worth? Like, they're story-driven games. You want to reach the conclusion. I'm just going to buy Uncharted 4, play half of it, and then not finish the game. Which is funny because I've played half the game and I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I think in terms of this, I mean, it definitely has more to do with the story-based games rather than because like online games you can't really beat.
Not really.
But some games have single player and multiplayer.
Yeah.
And you might not even ever play the single player, or you might not beat it and just play the multiplayer. But the question would be like, is it important? Or even with story-driven games, there are many story-driven games I've never finished that I purchased.
Okay, so the last big purchase wasn't that big of a video game was Diablo, Diablo 3. I do want to beat it. I haven't played it as much as I would have liked. I got Ryan to buy it, and I'm hoping that will motivate him to play with me more, because I honestly actually don't want to play by myself.
So he's guilt-tripping him on the podcast.
Yeah. No, but I am saying, like,
He's a poor boy.
I do think about the fact that, I mean, sometimes I forget that I bought it. Not because I just have so much money, but, like...
Oh, I have a Ferrari? So it's
Rich boy over here.
I know. No, but it's like sometimes I remember I did spend good money on that. I should go play it. But what if I don't want to play that game? I want to play a different game. You know, do I feel satisfied? That's where I think the biggest question comes in is, yeah, I do want to get through Diablo, but I don't want to play it to get through it just so I could spend the money. If I would enjoy something else more. And, you know, sunk cost fallacy there is well, I already spent money on it. I better spend time on it now because I spent money. I'm not saying I don't enjoy Diablo. I enjoy it very much, but I don't want the issue is I don't want to feel forced to play a game when I'd rather play something else just because I spent money on it.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, so as I kind of alluded to earlier, there's plenty of games that I've purchased that I've never finished, and that used to really bug me. I used to get really I was like, man, was it worth buying the game if I'm not even going to finish it? But then I thought, did I enjoy playing the game? Did I have a good time? And was it worth that time I spent on it? And if my answer is yes, and I still feel like I do need to put forth like kind of a specific amount without being super specific of time though, like a little bit of time to make it really worth it. But like Just Cause 3, I've had a ton of fun, but a lot of that game I've just had a ton of fun blowing crap up and messing around, because that's what that game's kind of about. But it has a story. I never finished it. I might go back one day and beat it, but to me, that wasn't the most important thing. Like, I didn't have to beat it to say that money I put forth was worth it. Just enjoying that and having those moments of like, holy crap, that was worth it. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, I haven't beaten yet. I'm a little bit sad. So I love the first Mirror's Edge. I know that's kind of not everyone has that opinion. But I loved it, and they got rid of the combat in the second one. You can still punch and kick. You can't take a gun from someone and shoot them anymore. And I don't know why they did that, because they wanted the free running mechanics to be the bigger part. But I kind of wish they would have left that in, because that was part of the fun I had. But I really enjoyed playing Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I thought the running was better. I thought the world was cooler. I just never finished it because the story didn't grab me as much as I would have liked. So I might go back and beat it one day, but do I feel like it was worth the purchase? I mean, I had fun with it. I had a good time being in that world, and it did kind of bring me into a new place, and I've gone back to it a couple times, so I would say yes. So to me, there are certain games I've purchased where it hasn't been worth it, either because I've never played the game ever, or I just never got sucked into any part of it enough, and I'm like, ooh, I wish I didn't buy that.
Examples?
So Dead Space 1 and 2, I got them on a Steam sale, so it wasn't that expensive, and I actually had a lot of fun playing the first Dead Space. It just never dragged me in enough, and I never had enough time, so I've just never actually completed even a lot of the first one, and I have the second one just chilling there. So to me, that was not a good purchase because unless one day I go back and beat it, and I know it's a good game, so that could happen. But for me, that was a bad purchase. But games like Just Cause or things like that, those were worthwhile purchases because of the experience I got from them. While games like Titanfall 2 or Sunset Overdrive or Tomb Raider 1 and 2, I've loved so much that I've completed them and actually gone back and played a little bit more anyways, just because I love it so much. Mm-hmm. So they might be worth it even more, but I would still say that the other ones were worth it because they gave me a fun experience. And that took me a long time to come to that conclusion.
I was starting to think of games that I've bought that I've not enjoyed or didn't think was worth it. I can only think of one at the moment. Well, 1.5 because I'm still kind of iffy on one of them. But it was that Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think. I have it on my Xbox. And it's just one of those like arcade fighter games where I have no idea what I'm doing. Like whenever I'm playing games with someone that comes over to the apartment and I just want to play a game with them. So is
it like a Mortal Kombat fighter?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that was the game I was thinking.
Street Fighter.
It's
Mortal
like
Kombat.
it's more like Street Fighter.
Because for a second I thought of Ultimate Alliance, which is completely different kind of game.
No.
Okay.
It's like Street
I wanted to
Fighter.
make sure I had that.
And like whenever, because a lot of people like sometimes when I have Tanner at the apartment, he won't play some games with me because he doesn't like losing.
Because I don't like losing?
Yes.
Are you talking about like when you try to get him to play the Dragon Ball Z game?
Yes.
And you just want to, and you know
You
how
want
to
to smush him?
Well, you know how to use all the moves, and I've like never played it before, and you just want.
That's how I feel with the Dragon Ball games. Every time I play one with
Yeah,
him.
me too.
Yeah.
They're probably
Yeah,
you, but
it's
I would.
all against Ryan.
That's what I would feel.
I mean, when you had me play the Marvel vs. Capcom game, guess who won?
Well, yeah, because like I haven't taken the time to like I felt like that, and it's not because I'm not good at that game that I didn't like it. It's just there's not very clear cut goals in that game, and since it's just a fighter game, like that's why I don't like a lot of these side scrolling like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Like Fighters, I don't know if they call it Fighters or Fighter Z. It was like one of the newest Dragon Ball games that they came out with.
I know the game. I've heard of it. I just never played it.
Like I didn't buy it just because all it looked like was just a side
just another
fighting game like Street Fighter. Because obviously that Dragon Ball Z game that's what's that Tenkaichi
Budokai.
Budokai Tenkaichi 3 I think is the one that I'm ruthless to you guys on, but
not anymore.
That one's fun
Yeah.
because I mean you can fly around and it's like it's more open world ish than this like side scrolling like 2D almost.
Does that make a big enough difference for you?
Yeah, it does. Like because you can't move around very much, and then you do have to have all these like stupid complicated like.
So do you not like Mortal Kombat?
No, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan. Like in Injustice 2, I played Injustice 2 because it had a story, and then once I beat the story, then like our friend Jonah at work, who he only does like online stuff, and so once I finished the game, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll play some Injustice 2 with you, and then he just completely slaughtered me because like you have to have these stuff memorized, and I don't. Like
you don't have memorized.
Yeah, I don't have memorized.
You gotta take the time to learn it.
Yeah, and Dragon Ball Z, like all in the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and 2 and 1, like you only have to memorize like 3 or 4 different combinations, and you can pretty much play it on anybody. Obviously, it's going to differ from character to character, but if you press like 3, like the special combination on one person, it's a special combination on another person.
Sure.
Whereas like in Mortal Kombat and Injustice 2. They all have different...
Though, to be fair, in the new Mortal Kombat, they actually allow you to put certain movesets up on the screen so you can learn them. So it's up there as you're playing. So you can look at it while doing it. And that they give it a little bit of a... Almost like a tutorial in-game that helps you learn the moves.
See,
so I think that was a cool addition.
Wouldn't you say, though, it's similar to what you have to do in HOTS and Overwatch and League, where you have to learn these characters. Not only do you have to learn your character, but you have to learn the other characters that you're fighting.
Well, there's not so many combos. I can agree with you there. It's like playing XXX, YB, right trigger is a lot harder than just pressing right trigger, knowing it's going to shoot, and just having to learn what kind of shot it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although with League and HOTS, you do have to learn League, you have to learn your build.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what moves you want to do first. In HOTS, you have to learn what moves you want to do compared to different people and who goes better.
Well, yeah,
against
but
what
it's
other
not.
people.
It's still pretty standard for everyone. There's Q, W, E, and R. Everyone has their Q. Everyone has their W. You just have to read.
But some have their 1s, some have their 2s.
Some have their 3s and some have their 4s.
Actually,
I mean, I'm just saying you have to take time as well to learn. Maybe it's easier, but
yeah, but
So
I don't feel like the stories are as fleshed
is.
out in Injustice 2. Yeah, it was because, I mean, they already have a pretty big universe to work off of and to build their story off of. But when it came to Mortal Kombat, when I remember the first time I played it with my aunt, and
she just slaughtered you, didn't she?
No, the
You
first time
slaughtered
we were playing, I was playing through the story, and then it was at the very, very beginning where the bad guys rip off one of the good guys' heads, and it traumatized me
Oh.
because I'm that's the first game I
Did your
seen
aunt
her
laugh? She was like,
Probably.
So I think we're gonna kind of finish up that topic there. The reason is we have another Let's Play to film, which is kind of gonna go into our conclusion of this podcast. Is we're gonna try to release more content weekly. Right now, we're gonna try to go 3 to 4 videos a week. This week it'll only be 3, but we're gonna have 2 Let's Plays to a podcast, and we're gonna come up with a good schedule about when we're gonna release those, so that it's the same every week. We haven't come up with that yet, but we're gonna film a Let's Play right after this, and we already filmed one right before this. So it's something we're gonna try to do to make sure that we're producing that content more regularly. We're also trying to work on making the quality better, adding new things like video, and we're gonna learn new editing techniques and get
Well, now
better
we're
as we
taking it
go. But yeah, so these are things that we're gonna try to improve as we go. But any feedback we'll definitely appreciate. Also, please subscribe and please share with your friends so that this can get out to more people, because we really want to make sure that we have that good feedback and that we are reaching people everywhere.
Also, we want to hear from you too. What do you think about the topics we brought up? What do you think of the Nintendo Labo? What do you think of story-based versus multiplayer? What's more important? What do you think of God of War? Comment below and let us know
What do you think of Peruvian ants kicking Ryan's butt at Mortal Kombat?
Let us know.
I thought you meant ants, like the bugs for a second.
No.
Peruvian ants. They're like this big.
But yeah, but thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week with another podcast.
This has been the All Chat Gaming Podcast.
Bye.